He's now positioning the water heater close enough to the shelter to attach the decontamination supply lines. He'll now attach the injected solution line to the top outlet on the heater. The bottom outlet is indicated by the sign on the side of the heater. It indicates that it's the rinse. You need to keep that in mind when you're configuring the shelter so that you're moving people into the shelter that are contaminated on the solution injected side and out on the rinse side. He will now hook up the decon line hoses to the shower booms at the shelter perimeter. We're now bringing in 1.5 inch water supply, either off of a hydrant or from a pumper, and making it a connection on the input side or the inlet side of the water heater. Now that you've made the connection for the supply, we'll come to the valves on the discharge side of the machine and close them. Next, we were going to set the temperature control valve to full hot. Once flow is established, you'll be able to determine what your water temperature is by watching the temperature gauge, which is on the very top of the machine. You will be able to determine the input pressure from your supply, whether it be hydrant or pumper, by this gauge on the front of the machine, which is directly above the mixing valve. This is the dosatron, which injects solutions into the wash side of the heating unit. It's preset at the factory for a 0.5% solution, mostly soaps or surfactants. This is the bottle that contains the surfactants. You remove the top, put the solution into the containment bottle, and it will automatically be siphoned through the dosatron when the machine is operational. Now that the valves are in a closed position, bring water to your system and pressure the system up and check your inlet pressure. Once you've established that you've got water pressure to the machine, open the top valve here on the rinse side or wash side and allow the air to bleed off and until you get water flow, and then close the valve again. Once you've established water supply and you've closed the valves, take the ground fault interrupter provided cord and establish electric power to the machine. Once you have electric power and you have water supply, put the on switch to the on position. The machine will not fire though until you actually establish water flow. Once water flows, the machine will fire and start to heat the water. You want to then readjust your temperature toward the center of the range and start to monitor your temperature fall until it falls into the range that you desire for decontamination. Once the system fires, allow it to stabilize, and you will have water or warm water within about 35-40 seconds. Now that the system is operational, as long as you keep the fuel can full, and surfactant in the system, and an ample water supply and an electric supply, the system will cycle on and off for the period of time that you're using the water heater. To quickly remove the fuel can for refueling, you will remove the supply lines from the rapid disconnects, and the can will then lift out. We are now moving the heater into place, the hot air heater. The expandable duct is being opened up. He's now connecting the duct to the sleeve on the heater, which is a simple compression fitting. And he will now connect the ductwork to the shelter through the snorkel on the exterior of the shelter. The side red locking devices are used only when you are expecting heavy weather or snow loading. It helps give you rigid sidewall for heavier wind loading or snow loading. It is not necessary to connect the red locking straps for normal deployments. This is the TVI anchor kit. This secures the shelter to the ground if you happen to be deploying on ground surfaces. You have a mallet, you have wind lines, and you have stakes, aluminum stakes. When you're anchoring on ground surfaces, you want to take the clip end of your wind line and attach it to the stainless steel loop on the shelter system itself. You will then have drive a stake into the ground, and you will loop the wind line over the stake and tighten the cinch strap in such a fashion as to secure the line to the shelter and tighten the shelter on both sides. On a hard surface, concrete, asphalt, or otherwise, you'll want to get some sandbags, something similar to this type of a bag or any kind of weight at all that you can then put on the frame itself to create ballast. This is the repair kit for the shelter. It consists of some fabric for tears that might happen to the system during normal operations. You have the ground cloth repair fabric, and you have the shelter repair fabric. Cement to attach the repair fabrics to the shelter. Additional clips for the locking devices on the side of the frame. Wind line anchor bolt for when you stake the system down or when you're tying wind lines to the system. Individual nodes that connect the articulating frame together. And simple tools, box wrench, a ratchet with a 7/16" box head, and an Allen wrench to replace any damaged scissor sections you might have. We have sections of the frame, 3 different sizes that make up the various portions of the frame. We have the black offset frame sections, the white offset frame sections, and the purple offset frame sections. And these each correspond to the position on the shelter that these tubes need to be replaced in.